Hello and welcome to our event where we're going to be discussing helpful hints about looking after your stoma. My name is Sam Cleasby. I'm a blogger. I have a permanent stoma and I just like talking all things stoma. And we're also going to be joined by a Stoma Care Nurse and a stoma product specialist. We're here on Facebook Premiere, which means some of you are going to be watching this live. So please do add your questions into the comments box. And we're going to answer as many as we possibly can. If we don't get around to answering all the questions, they will be answered at a later date. So just keep an eye on the social media. So joining us today, we have Emma, who is a Stoma Care Nurse, and we have Sandy, who is a stoma product specialist. I'm going to hand over them now so they can introduce themselves to you all.
Thanks, Sam. I'm Sandy. I'm one of the product specialists for Clinimed, and I'm here today to talk about some of the products and services that Clinimed can help you when managing your stoma. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. My name is Emma and I'm a Stoma Care Nurse at Secure Care Medical, which is a sister company to Clinimed. I've been involved with stoma care for over 20 years, working in the UK and also in Australia. And I really look forward to talking to you about all the elements involved in stoma care and managing any problems, also answering your questions. Thank you.
Okay, now I'm going to pass you over to Emma, who's our Stoma Care Nurse, and she's going to be talking about the core principles of caring for your stoma.
Hello, thank you, Sam. Thank you for the introduction. Again, my name is Emma Vernon. I'm a Stoma Care Nurse, and today I'm going to talk to you about understanding your stoma and optimizing your stoma care. So I'm going to talk a little bit about product as well, and a bit about some of the problems that are most common with stomas. But the first thing we need to talk about is understanding what your stoma is exactly. So it's a word that's come from Greece, it's Greek, and it means a mouth or opening. As you know, it's been created by the surgeon to allow your output, your poo to be diverted out of your body into a bag. And it's important to understand what type of stoma you have, because there are 3 different types. And you need to know what stoma you have if ever you're asked, so that whoever asks you understands, okay, you have that stoma, that would mean you might have this type of bag and your consistency would be like this. So a colostomy is for large bowel waste. An ileostomy is for small bowel waste. And a urostomy is for urine waste. And each stoma would depend on what that stoma was formed for, so for whatever reason, and the surgery that you had. So there's lots of different types of ways and amounts of bowel that gets removed. For a colostomy and ileostomy, there are difference in the output consistency and the pouch type. So I'm going to talk to you about the main principles of stoma management and pouching, and briefly discuss some of the common problems that you might have when managing your stoma. No matter what stoma you have, the principles of pouching your stoma are the same. So whether it's colostomy, ileostomy, or urostomy, in terms of putting a pouch on your stoma, it's all the same. Every stoma pouch is made of a skin-friendly adhesive base. So if you could see this, so this base that sticks on your skin is all been made up of ingredients that are meant to stay on your skin 24/7 and are very friendly towards your skin. Now you could either get a 1-piece pouch. So that is where the bag and section that sticks on your skin is all the same. It's all connected. Or you can have a two-piece pouch where you have the base plate and the bag separately. And this might help for reasons if you can't see your stoma very well. You can put the base plate on and then change the bag. Equally, if you have a colostomy, you can keep this on for 3 days and just change the bag once, twice a day, or up to 3 times a day without taking the base plate off. So there are reasons for a two-piece bag, but also reasons for a one-piece bag. They tend to be a little bit more comfortable, as the two-piece bag can seem a little bit bulky. So everybody's different. Some stomas are round in shape and some can be oval. And like our fingerprints, no stoma, unfortunately, is the same. And this is quite normal. Everybody's different and everybody's stoma is different shape. The normal idea, what you need to do is have a good seal around your stoma to allow for the waste to go into the bag without any problems. And there are step-by-step guides available, and also measuring guides. And you would have been given these when you left the hospital, but also you might lose them in, along the line, along the years. If you feel that your stoma has changed shape or size, you can contact your home delivery service or your Stoma Care Nurse to remeasure your stoma and make sure it's the right size. One of the common problems you might have is leakage. A leaking pouch is not acceptable by any means. You should not live with a stoma that's leaking. And you should ideally seek advice from your Stoma Care Nurse, because there's a lot that we can do. Ongoing leakages will lead to sore skin around your stoma very quickly. And there's lots of reasons, though, you might be leaking, and we need to find out the reason why you're leaking before we can put in strategies in place to help you and stop that from leaking. So the stoma output might change consistency, such as diarrhea, high output, or something called pancaking, which I'll talk about a little later on. Difficulty with applying the pouch, you might have, it might become later on in life that you get a bit of poor dexterity in your fingers and your hands. So you might find it difficult positioning, or also not being able to see your stoma very well. So you can't sit the stoma very well into the pouch hole. Also, you might change body shape and have old scars which cause creases or dips around your stoma. So it might be leaking through those areas. The stoma pouch and adhesive base also might not be right for your stoma or the skin around your stoma. And there are lots of different pouch sizes that we could try and different adhesives to help with that pouching, because all the pouches are made of different ingredients, and we need to find the right one for you that's going to help sit around your stoma. There are also lots of different accessories and lots of new pouches and accessories coming on the market all the time. So to keep up to date, it always is best to seek that advice from your stoma nurse, who will be able to show you what the latest pouch or accessory is that might be able to help you to prevent this leakage. A pouch which provides additional security around your stoma and hugging the contours of your body so that the flange stays securely throughout the day is what you need. So there are pouches out there, if you could see this one, that has these little cutout areas. So that will mold around any contours in your abdomen. to stop any leakage. There's also pouches out there that, instead of sticking out, will invert and mold around any body contours that you might have to stop leakage. One of the things that Stoma Nurse might suggest to stop leakage is a convex pouch. So instead of this one where it inverts, a convex pouch sticks outwards. So it's got like, it looks like a little bit of a dish on top of the adhesive here. And what it is there's a built-in plastic ring in here to keep that dish sticking out. And the idea of this is, once on, it's supposed to help your stoma by giving it a little bit of a push. It's supposed to help your stoma stick out a little bit more into the pouch, hence preventing leakage. There is also, and I'm going to talk about this a bit later on as well, there's also things like washers, and people call these all sorts of things, rings, washers, just all sorts of things. And look, they can mold out to the size of your stoma and sit around your stoma like a little barrier. So that sort of thing might be introduced to you as well. And also there's paste. Now paste is there, it's not a glue, it's not to stick your bag on, it's to fill in any creases or dips or any problems that you might have really close to your stoma. So by filling in that crease with the paste, then it will mean that your bag can sit flat onto your skin. And I'll talk about a few more bits and pieces later. A two-piece pouch, which I've showed you, can be introduced instead of one-piece pouch to help with that positioning of your pouch on your stoma. And also your stoma nurse might talk to you about medication and diet advice to change the consistency of that output, if that is what is causing the leakage. If a watery output, such as an episode of diarrhea or high output stoma, you might need some medication. And this could be loperamide, commonly known also as Imodium. If you have an ileostomy, you should avoid the capsule tablets because these don't digest high up in the gut where your stoma is. You also might be told about some diet advice, such as eating much starchy filled foods like white potatoes, rice or pasta. There are other things such as jelly beans and marshmallows. They might be also suggested. They contain gelatin, which will thicken up your output. Rehydration fluids might also be suggested. Always seek advice from your stoma nurse if you're unable to manage diarrhea. Sometimes diarrhea might resolve. It's just something you're eating and your body's way of getting rid of it. If it resolves and goes back to normal, that's fine. But if it persists, please seek advice. If you have a colostomy and you've got a few days of diarrhea, you might want to talk to your stoma nurse or your home delivery company about having some drainable pouches. So, you know, with you would normally have a closed pouch. With there are drainable pouches on the market, which means for a looser output, and for those that have ileostomies, they empty the pouch out the bottom. And this would help if you had an episode of diarrhea, because you wouldn't need to keep changing your closed pouch every time it filled up. You could keep this on for a couple of days and just empty the output out the bottom until the diarrhea resolved. So as I mentioned before, leakage can cause sore skin around your stoma. So although once that leakage has resolved, that skin will heal up very quickly. Sometimes your skin might react though to certain types of adhesives. There are a lot of skin-friendly adhesives out there, so please keep an eye on that if you start experiencing sore skin, which isn't related to leakage, but you're kind of wondering, oh, hang on a minute, my skin's reacting to something. It might be what's in the base plate. So there are other pouches that you can try that will help resolve that problem. So if you're experiencing pancaking, there are a few things that we can do to help. And pancaking is when your output is not going into the pouch. So instead of going into the hole, what the output is doing is accumulating at the hole and then leaking. So when you remove that pouch, it looks like a big pancake on the back of the adhesive. And what it is it's very sticky poo that just won't go into the pouch. There are lots of things you can do. It mostly happens with colostomy stomas, but there are lots of things you can do to prevent this. One of the things you can do is use a lubricant such as baby oil and pour a little bit into the pouch, so into the hole of the pouch. Pour it in and just squidge it around your pouch so it lubricates the inside of your pouch and makes your pouch slippy. Another thing you can do is roll up a ball of tissue and pop it inside the pouch. Sometimes stoma pouches can vacuum and the inside of the plastic can stick together, and this stops the output going into the pouch. By putting this ball of tissue, you're stopping the pouch from doing that, so sticking together. You could cover the filter. So all of the bags, stoma bags, have a filter in them, if you can see that. And the filter is there to let out the gas and any wind, but without odour. By covering it up, you're stopping the pancaking from happening. Now, in the box of your pouches, you should have round sticky dots. And you often hear patients say, oh, what are these used for? And what they're used for is covering that filter. So by covering that filter, you're preventing pancaking as well. And the dots, if you're interested, can also be used in the shower to cover the filter so it doesn't get too wet. Another thing you can do to prevent pancaking is just increase the fibre in your diet and try and increase the amount you're drinking. And, you know, you need to do that. It's just to stop that output being so sticky and just to get it back into a normal consistency. If you're advised, however, not to have a high fibre diet, please don't do that, and we'll find other means to help that output changed. Stomas can be different sizes and can change shape and size if a change in weight or body shape occurs due to a peristomal hernia. A peristoma hernia is a bulge, and it appears from behind your stoma. It is caused because your stoma, when they create the stoma, they create it through your abdominal muscle and your abdominal wall. And by creating that stoma, a hole is put through your muscle and wall, which creates a weakness. You should, if you think you've got a peristoma hernia, which, like I said, looks like a bulge behind your stoma, you should ideally get it formally diagnosed by having an X-ray and seeing a healthcare professional such as your GP or your consultant. In terms of pouching, your pouch might need to be changed because sometimes your stoma size increases, and some pouches mold better around hernias than others, such as the pouch I showed you a little bit earlier, that can invert. That might mold, as you can imagine, a bulge that can emerge, just sit nicely around that. You might consider a hernia, peristoma hernia belt or garment, and what your stoma care nurse can do is talk to you about that and refer you to a specialist that will come and measure you for bespoke garment and belt. There are lots of belts and garments available that they can show you and have it measured appropriately to your size. The belt or garment will give you more support while you carry out some of those active tasks and to prevent the hernia from getting worse. If you don't have a peristoma hernia, you should also consider getting a belt or garment if you do active hobbies such as gardening, or anything that involves any heavy lifting, because that will prevent a hernia from occurring. There is a lot of guidance and advice available out there about abdominal exercises to do, also to strengthen your abdomen in a bid to prevent a peristoma hernia. A common concern you might have is bleeding around your stoma. When cleaning your stoma, if you have some blood appear on a dry wipe, this is perfectly normal. A stoma is the same tissue as inside your mouth, and it's very fragile tissue. You might, however, see a few bumps or lumps appear around the edge of your stoma, which bleed more than a spot on some tissue. These could be granulomas. They are quite common, and although they don't really cause you any harm, they can be a bit unsightly and they can bleed. You will need to see a stoma care nurse to have these reviewed and assessed to see if they are granulomas, and your stoma care nurse can treat these very easily. There are, however, other bumps and skin conditions that can occur on and around your stoma. If your stoma and surrounding skin doesn't look like it normally does, like it did when you first come out of hospital, for whatever reason, you need to see your stoma care nurse so we can see what it might be. So I'm now going to go through some additional products you might see and wonder what they're for. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is medical adhesive remover. You can get this in a spray, which is most commonly used in the UK is the spray version. There are wipes, because sometimes I find that patients struggle with this part. If you have problems with dexterity, sometimes a wipe is a little bit easier. Also, if you're out and about, a wipe might be easier than a spray. And what this does, this is really important actually, because it helps you to remove your pouch. I'm just going to stick this onto my arm. If you just tear this off your skin, and you could be taking your bag off once up to 3 times a day if a colostomy, if an ileostomy once a day. You could be taking a layer of skin off. Your skin is still quite fragile and you need to look after it. So if you've had something sat on your skin for 24 hours, or even longer if you keep your bag on for 2 or 3 days, it's best if you use a spray to help take that off instead of just tearing it off your skin and maybe causing some skin tearing or skin stripping. So I'm just going to use the spray, and I just gradually spray, and it just comes off really nicely with that spray. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I stick something on my skin for a long time, it's red anyway, but you know, you want to protect your skin. So please, ideally, use a remover spray. Another thing you might see is a no sting barrier wipe. So this can come in a spray as well, but I think the wipes are mostly used. And it can put a slight film onto your skin. You won't be able to see this. It's very, very subtle and very clear. But you can feel it. And it will put a slight film on your skin to prevent any soreness. So if you have fragile skin, which some people do, a barrier wipe might be something that's ideal for you. There is, you might see Stoma powder on the market or available. It comes in a little bottle, and it's used if you have broken, weeping, wet skin. So if you have really sore skin that's got so sore that it's broken and it's moist, the Stoma powder works really well. Once that skin is healed and it's no longer broken or weeping, you want to stop using it. Because if you carry on using it, unfortunately, what can happen is the powder's quite fine. What it is, it's the hydrocolloid. It's what this base plate is made up of, but in powder form. And if you put powder on normal skin, it gets quite grainy, which means when you put your pouch on, it makes it hard for your pouch to stick. So it is best only used on wet, broken skin. If you use it on wet, broken skin, it will heal that skin really well. Another thing, and we've talked about this earlier, is a washer or a seal or a ring. These come in lots of different shapes and sizes, actually. You can get oval ones, mostly round, but they can come in different sizes. So if you have a big stoma, you can get a bigger one for your stoma size, or you can just pull them out to the size of your stoma, and you want a snug fit, so your stoma to sit nicely inside that middle ring there. So you want that, and then you just can sit your pouch on the outside. If you use these, once you change your pouch, the ring will come off with the pouch. So you'll need to throw that away and use the next one next time. Another thing is paste, which we talked about earlier on, can fill in those dips and creases around your stoma. The problem with paste is it can be quite messy. It's very, very sticky. So if you touch it, you'll end up sticking your fingers to it and all sorts. The best thing to do to move that paste, if you need to, is wet your finger. So if you wet your finger, you can then touch the paste and just mold it a bit better into those creases before you put your pouch on. So one of the other items that you might see are these things. They're called flange extenders. But also you might see a lot of patients call them very different things. So I've heard bananas, half moons, and also in Australia, boomerangs. So they have lots of different names, but they are flange extenders. And basically, if you have quite a large stoma and a lot of the adhesive has been cut away to allow for that large stoma to go into the hole, you're losing quite a bit of adhesive there. So what the flange extenders can do is just sit around your pouch like that, just to increase that adhesive. And you can get two, so you can have one to go on each side. I find that a lot of patients put these on when they're out and about, because it just helps with that added security. They shouldn't be used to fix leaks. Once your pouch is leaked, it needs to be changed straight away. It is purely there to increase the adhesive around the bag. And I find also with hernias, it works quite well around hernias. So no matter your concern or your question, always please contact your Stoma Care Nurse. No matter how busy you might think we are always there to help you to the best of our ability. That's what our job is. The companies which make pouches and the adhesive, the additional products I've talked about, try and come up with new ways to come up with new things all the time. And your stoma nurse is best placed to know what is new on the market, but also what is most suitable to you and your stoma. If you feel you haven't had contact with your stoma nurse for a long time, you're not sure who it is, please think about contacting your local hospital and just asking to be put through to the Stoma Care department. If you have internet access, you could look up your local hospital website and search for the Stoma Care department phone number that way. If you don't feel that there's nobody answering straight away, because yes, we are busy and we do have patients to see on the wards, but please leave a message, because we won't want you to be stuck and have a question and not have that answered or have a problem. So please do leave a message, because Stoma Care nurses will always want to help and get back to you. As Stoma Care nurses, that's what we do and that's what we're here for. You will never be discharged from our care. So always, please pick up that phone and seek help. Thank you for listening, and I hope some of those things have helped you. Thank you. Bye.
And now I'm really happy to pass you over to Sandy, who is a CliniMed product specialist, and she's going to be talking about some of the latest products and services that are about to look after your stoma.
So just to reintroduce myself, I'm Sandy. I'm one of the product specialists at CliniMed, and I'm now really excited about talking to you about our new product range, which is the Aura Plus range. As I say, it's a new product, a one-piece product for us. And, you know, this is a new product for a very long time. So we're really, really excited. So Aura Plus is suitable for most of your stoma needs, and that's where a secure seal can be created around the stoma. But remember, and obviously we recognise this, in some cases you may require a different solution to help create that secure seal. So for example, if you do have a recessed, retracted or poorly sited stoma, you might require a convex pouch, something like Aura Convex, which applies gentle pressure to help bring the stoma out into the pouch. So Aura Plus may be suitable for use with parastomal hernias as it conforms around the body, but there are also other stoma pouches designed especially for use with hernias, or if you've got dips and creases or scars in the skin around the stoma. So for example, Aura Profile, because that provides further support and security where it's actually needed. So to talk about the new Aura Plus range, I'm going to just run through sort of some of the changes that you'll notice if you're on sort of other products, so that we can run through and the benefit that provides you as a user. And that's whether you're an Ostomate, a Ostomate or an Ostomate, because those products extend across that particular range. So one of the initial features and the things that we focused on is our unique plus shape flange. When we've referenced before about leaks, that's really the most important things, is that where we've changed the shape of that flange, it means that that's designed to improve the application. So when you apply it, you've got a reduced risk of creases and therefore the leakage channels that can occur because of that. Also in the centre of the pouch, or sort of at the edges of the pouch, you've got some comfort curves, which again enhance that security as that flange actually does fit around the contours of the body, and that makes it more conformable. So the actual hydrocolloid is slightly more thinned, which again adds to that sort of conformability, and that helps make that flange stay secure throughout the day. So whatever you're doing sort of during the day, it's going to mean that you have that security sort of throughout the day, and we know that that's sort of really important to you. So moving on, with our product range, the whole Aura range, and in Aura Plus is included in this, all of our hydrocolloids actually contain a skin-friendly Manuka honey. And that Manuka honey is a medical grade product. So if you are interested in Manuka honey, if you give it a Google and find about wound healing, there are so many different articles that you can go into on the benefits of Manuka honey that are related to wound care, but what we've done is we're going to talk about the context of that today with regards to your stoma. So what we do know is Manuka honey is really, really great when you're talking about wound healing. So it's really well known for its therapeutic properties, and it may help to promote healthy skin around your stoma. So you could have a healthy stoma, but we know that, you know, sometimes the challenge is around that skin around your stoma. And what we know is that with recent studies, that if you do change to a stoma pouch which does have medical grade Manuka honey in the flange, then the condition of your skin around that stoma is, I mean, it's much better, and it's to do with sort of pH balance. So that in itself is going to improve the comfort for you and to give you more confidence. So what I'm going to do now is just to touch on the science, a little bit of that for those of you that like that sort of background in science, is that, again, that Manuka honey does have this unique antibacterial and anti-inflammatory effect, which that is really going to help you. So the Manuka honey is native to New Zealand. For those of you that like your Latin names or you're involved in gardening, is that the Manuka bush is known as the Leptospermum scoparium bush, which is the bees that pollinate that bush, then produce the Manuka honey, which has the unique antibacterial and inflammatory properties. So honey itself is acidic in nature, but that in itself is the thing that then slows the growth of any bacteria and that bacterial DNA that's forming. And the high sugar content and low water, again, it's that contributes to being able to halt, so it stops the replication of the DNA in that bacterial. So it's the high levels of something called MgO, which is methyl glyoxal, which again enhances the antibacterial activity. So, I mean, that's really important, and that's how it works. So I think of how fantastic that is, that you have something as, you know, fabulous in terms of sort of healing and the benefits of healing actually in your flange. So that's with that Manuka honey. So moving on to some of the studies that we've done, as I say, if you Google Manuka honey and wound care, you'll actually come across a number of different studies. So we've actually put together some real life studies that are relevant and specific to stoma care. And some of the research that we found from those studies is that of the users reported an improvement in the condition of the skin around the stoma within a week. So that's people that moved to a flange that had Manuka honey sort of within it. So within a week, they found an improvement of the condition of the skin. And that was for 94% of users. So, you know, that's a really big number. That's 94% seeing that improvement of the condition of the skin around the stoma within just a week. And that was, you know, with people that moved to Manuka honey. So 62% of those users would said that they could wear their pouch for longer, and 98% said that with that Manuka honey, sort of within the flange, that they could wear their pouch for either the same time or a longer period. So that's some pretty impressive and high numbers. So, you know, just to reiterate that, so 94% saw an improvement within a week, and 98% said they could either wear their pouch for the same length of time or longer. So you know, we hope that really sort of makes sense and can help you sort of in your choice in the future. So that's the science. So what I'd now like to move on to is more information really about the practical side of it, and the practical side with your stoma pouch. And one of the things that, again, I think we recognise over the last 12 to 18 months is that having accessibility to a range of coloured pouches is really, really important. So this is what we've done. We've listened to what you as users have said, and we've introduced 2 new colours. Our clear option continues to be available, but we've introduced a bold and versatile black, and then a light and simple sand colour. And as I mentioned before, the clear option sort of continues. So all of those products are with that Manuka honey sort of in the flange, and they're available across the flat closed product range, the Ostomy product, and the drainable product. So, which is great news. We're really excited to be able to provide those to you. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is just focus on each of the individual pouches and just talk about some of the differences in the detail. So first of all, when we're talking about our drainable pouch, we have a new hook-to-hook fastening system, which if you those of you here that remember sort of a stickle brick, it's like that technology, but you can actually hear it as it secures, which you know that from a security point of view, that that hook-to-hook fastening system has worked as you hear that click. And there's also a new release tab as well, just makes it easier for you to utilise. With regards to our Ostomy pouch, which we provide in the black colour as well, which is unique to the market, we have a new refined pouch shape, and there's also a new improved tap pocket design, which again just makes it comfortable and easier for you to use. Okay, so we're just going to touch on now the specifics for each of the individual pouches, because we think that's really, really important. So with regards to your closed pouch, the important thing is that it contains a new dual carb, it's the second sort of round of the filter, which obviously if you're experiencing things like ballooning, it can help sort of manage that sort of within your pouch. Whereas what we have with the drainable pouch is the dual carb eye filter, which obviously sort of helps manage sort of the content that's within there and the issues that you have with that, alongside the modesty strip. And then finally, in our Ostomy pouch, we've got the non-return valve, which means that obviously sort of your contents actually stay within the pouch. It's secure within the pouch. There's no sort of return back into the tube that may be sort of fixed through. And there's also a soft and flexible tap. In addition, across the whole range, there's a split back cover, and there's an easy to peel tab. All of the pouches are now in a new water repellent material, which is super soft sort of to touch. You'll really notice sort of the difference of that, because we know that if something is touching your skin, you want it to feel soft and you want it to feel comfortable. And then our cutting guide that's on the flange is nice and clear for you to see, which means that you can obviously sort of adapt that cut to sort of suit your stoma. And that's really important if over the period of time your stoma is actually changing in size, that you can adapt that and you've got that clear cutting guide. So, you know, we think that that's really important. What you'll also notice on all of the products is the little Manuka honey sign sort of at the bottom of the flange. You know that it's got the Manuka honey in it. So there's a little indicator there that shows you that you know, that you have the Manuka honey in there. So yeah, so I hope that you've enjoyed that sort of update on the Aura Plus range. And I think, as I mentioned to you, the important thing is that it is about what works best for you as the patient and the user. That we really believe that we have the sort of products that are right for you and that will work for you. So what I wanted to touch on now was details of our STARS program, which is available through our sister company. So from our colleagues, or my colleagues at Securicare, which, as I say, is an associate sister company of ours, and as I say, provide you that overview of our STARS service. And this has really come up again as a result of the feedback that we had from you, in that what we do know is that after you've had that acute sort of service and support through the NHS, that you're out of hospital, you've been discharged, there's a huge amount of support available in that initial stage, that what happens when you might be 4, 5, 6 months down, or a year into having had your stoma, or maybe 2 years or 10 years or whatever, and that something comes up where you no longer have the contact with your the stoma team that you're in contact with at the hospital. You know that you want to speak to somebody. You don't necessarily want to go to your GP. You know that usually if you do phone your stoma nurse, that there's a recorded message, so you may not get a call back for the next day or 48 hours later. Or maybe you just sort of think, I just need a little bit of input. I don't really want to bother the stoma nurse. So this is where our STARS service fits in. So what this does is it gives you effectively an access to a little bit of a triage service, where once you phone the number, that one of our sort of experts will sort of talk through what the issues and the problems that you're having. Sometimes we find that just having somebody that can discuss some of the problems and come up with the solutions there and then actually helps and fixes the problem. But in the event that you do, or it's identified and agreed that you do need to speak to a specific stoma nurse, then we can then arrange that with you. And the latest of that is usually within 1 working day, and you can speak to them sort of at your own home, and you know, at a time that sort of fits with you. So that's all available on a free phone number. That you can see the number on the bottom of the screen here, which is 0808 301 3359. And that's available Monday to Friday, 9 AM to 6 PM. So that gives you sort of an overview of how you can access that service. So if you're interested in sort of finding out more about the Aura Plus range, you can request samples on, again, the number that's coming up on the screen now, which is 0808 291 3744. And as I say, if you'd like to give it a try, then just give our number a call, and we'll arrange for a free sample to be sent across to you. So thanks very much for listening today. I hope you found that useful. I hope you found that you know, today's going great. I've really enjoyed it myself. Thanks for listening, and I'm now going to pass you on to Sam.
So we've heard from Emma and from Sandy. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about my own personal experience of life with a stoma. I got my first ostomy in 2013 due to ulcerative colitis. And even though I kind of knew that that was going to be an option for the future for me, it was a bit of a shock when I first woke up with that bag. I don't think that anything can really prepare you for that moment. When I first got my stoma, I started searching on the internet to find other people. And at that time, there were very, very few people talking about it. So I felt super isolated. There were loads of medical advice, but actually people talking about those questions, those personal questions that you want to ask. There was nobody there doing it. And that's why I started my blog. Since then, I've had several surgeries. I had my stoma reversed, and then I had a J pouch, and then I now have got a permanent ileostomy. So this is it for life now. And I just think that it's so great that we can talk about it now. I was scrolling through my social media earlier, and I see so many people sharing images of themselves with a stoma, and it's absolutely fantastic. Because I've had a lot of surgeries, I have developed hernias, so I have a peristomal hernia. And so it can be quite difficult to just deal with on a day-to-day basis, because there's always changes to your body. And whether you have a hernia or not, there is definitely those changes to your body. And I think it's really important to constantly reevaluate your stoma needs. So many people tell me that they still use the bag that they were given in hospital because they just don't know that there's more of a choice. And I think that's quite sad. And so I'm glad that we can do things like this just to show that, you know what, we all have different needs. We're all completely individual, and there's loads of different products and bags that you can try. Because of my hernias, I have dealt with leaks and sore skin. And when you get sore skin, you end up in that vicious circle where you have sore skin, so then your bag doesn't stick, so then you leak some more, and then your skin gets sore again. So that's been quite difficult to deal with. And what I always tell people, I get a lot of people calling me and emailing me and asking me questions. I always say the first port of call should be your Stoma Care Nurse. That's their job. And I think sometimes we feel like they are just there for that first post-operative time, but actually they're there for you for all time. So make sure that you talk to your stoma nurse, try different products. Honestly, there's so many. And I don't think I realised that for a few years. I've been using the Aura Plus. So because I've got a peristomal hernia, my tummy comes out quite far, and it changes and moves throughout the day. It gets bigger, it gets smaller. And for me, that worked really well. The seal on it worked really well because it moves with your skin. Now, if you've got a peristomal hernia, there are very specific bags that you can get that will work great. But for me, the Aura Plus has been working. What I really love is that they've got the Manuka honey in the sticky bit that healed my skin really quickly. I wasn't expecting it to. And so that was really quite a big positive for me. The other thing is the colour. Now, my bags have either been sort of, they say skin coloured, but they're not my skin colour, or grey, and they always look quite medical. The one that I tried was a black bag, and I thought, is that going to just really stand out? Is it going to be something that you can see like from a distance? But actually, because it's black, it doesn't feel medical. It feels like something that you're just putting on for your day out. It's a weird thing, but I've really enjoyed doing something that's a different colour. I'm of Indian heritage, so I do find that sometimes the things that are nude coloured are very, very pale on my brown skin. So I like that. I like the colour. I think one of the biggest things that I've felt, and that the people who get in touch with me tell me, is that they feel really isolated, that they feel like they're the only person who is going through this. And that's just not true. There's so many people who have got a stoma, who are out there, who are sharing their images, sharing their stories. So I think that sort of gives you the confidence to speak up a little bit. It can be really hard to talk to your loved ones, to your family, to your children. But what I found is just being open and honest about who you are, and that this is part of you now, has been a really good thing, not only for my sort of physical health and sort of people understanding that I may have different physical needs, but for my mental health as well. Just being able to be honest. We all know that there is a big taboo around poo, which is so weird because it's something that every single person does. But when it comes to an illness that is to do with poo, it can just feel like, you know, it's not really dinner party conversation. It's not the thing that you start up over your main course. So maybe pick your times. But the fact is that we're all there. We've all got the same needs. And so being honest really helps, just talking about what you're going through, how that feels, what you need from other people. And if you don't feel quite comfortable talking to other people yet, go online, have a look, find blogs, find these support systems out there, because you will always find somebody who has been through what you're going through. One of the things that is difficult for me is having leaks. So that might be that there's too much in my bag, or the seal lifts, and it's almost not so much the leak itself, but the fear of it leaking. And I have found that it stops me doing things because I become afraid to go out, because what if you have a leak? I have a bag at work with stoma stuff and a change of clothes. I have a bag in my car. So that sort of forward planning helps a little. But actually, leaks aren't something that you should be living with. If you are leaking regularly, then something isn't quite right. And speaking to your stoma nurse, trying different products is the way to go. I understand it, you know, it's hard to make that decision to go out for a night out if you think, what if? But you shouldn't be living with it. If you're leaking, then something's not quite right. Don't be embarrassed. Speak to your stoma nurse and get it sorted. If you're watching this and you're thinking, yeah, it's okay for you, and people say that to me, I've not got that confidence. Believe me, I do understand that. And it takes a lot to sit in front of a camera and talk about going to the toilet. It's genuinely not something that the career advisor at school told me that I could be doing. But I know that in speaking out, it helps others. And that's the only reason that I do it. If you've got questions, if you're struggling, then there are lots of ports of call for you to go and get help. Please don't sit in silence, stressing, worrying, and suffering, because we've got permanent stomas or we've got temporary stomas, and these are here to make us make our life better. And so don't struggle alone. You can always speak to your Stoma Care Nurse. You can have a search online for support groups, for other bloggers. You can go to the ClinMed website. If you don't feel comfortable speaking out loud to somebody, you know, there's a lot of information online. So please do have a look, get yourself sorted, take control of your stoma and live the life that you're meant to be living. And now we're going to just go through some of those frequently asked questions, and the questions that even 8 years on from having a stoma, I still have them. And whilst we've got our great Stoma Care Nurse and a stoma product specialist here, we're going to just kick in and get through some of these questions. So now we're all together and we're going to go through some of those frequently asked questions. So the first question is, how can I look after the skin around my stoma? Emma, can you kick us off with something for that?
Yeah, so I think, you know, skin around your stoma, it's very simple really, and you shouldn't overcomplicate the skin around your stoma. It should be treated exactly the same as the skin on anywhere on your body. And it's very simple in terms of when you've removed your pouch, just a dry cloth and tap water, cleaning your stoma, then make sure your skin is very dry. Don't put a pouch on If your skin's wet, make sure it's very dry before you put your pouch on. And it's just as simple as that. You know, you don't need to use anything like antiseptics or any special thing. Try and avoid things like baby wipes, because baby wipes have all sorts of special ingredients in them, such as lanolin, which means that your bags might not stick very well to your skin after it's been cleaned with a baby wipe. So just normal tap water and a dry cloth, wet cloth that you get wet, and then make sure your skin is dry afterwards. It's as simple as that.
And Sandy?
Yeah, I think just to reinforce what Emma's saying, really, but also understanding that obviously, you know, everybody's skin is different. So, and also our skin changes. So, you know, sometimes if something is happening and you find that you are doing everything that Emma said earlier, but your skin is changing, sometimes that can be that something else is going on. So sort of referencing back to what we talked about earlier, there are products out there. So for example, with us, it's the Manuka honey that will help with that pH balance, because it is about really maintaining that really positive pH balance and what you need to do sort of to maintain the integrity and healthy skin around your stoma. So yeah, that would be my input. Thanks.
As a patient, I found that sometimes if I'm having some issues and it's leaking a lot, and then the skin around my stoma can get really sore, and then it's trying to get back on top of that to get the skin back to normal. Have you got any advice on how to deal with it if you've already got quite sore skin?
If you've already got sore skin to start off with, once you've stopped that leakage, for whatever reason that leakage is happening, the base plate, the bit that sticks onto your skin, the hydrocolloid, is a dressing, and it's very skin friendly. Some of them have ingredients on them to add to that skin friendliness, and just, you know, like Sandy mentioned, the pH balance, maintaining that pH balance. Once you've stopped that leakage, that sore skin will heal within a day or two. You can use things such as barrier wipes that will help speed that up. But as soon as you've stopped that problem from happening, that skin will heal.
Great, thank you. So another question, and I think it's quite pertinent to me as well, is should I avoid heavy lifting? And is there anything that I can do to protect the muscles in my stomach? Now, as someone who's had multiple hernias, I'm quite interested in this question. Any thoughts, Emma?
So yeah, definitely initially avoid heavy lifting. And there are lots of exercises you can do to strengthen up your core abdominal muscle, which will help prevent that hernia from happening. It is unfortunately a common consequence of sometimes of having a stoma, just because you've got that weakened area where they've created the stoma through the bowel wall. So unfortunately, and Sam, you might just be one of those people that are just prone to getting them. The surgeons are constantly trying to come up with ideas as prevention, different surgical techniques, different ways of stitching the stoma in to stop that from happening. So there is work going on in the background regarding preventing hernias from happening. But at the moment, the best thing to do is to avoid heavy lifting. If you're someone that enjoys things like gardening or weightlifting, or things that means that you're going to be doing some heavy work, once you've recovered from your surgery and you start doing some abdominal exercise to strengthen up your muscle again, you can do things such as get a support belt to help support your abdomen while you're doing those heavy things.
Sandy, can you tell us about any sort of products like that?
Yeah. So again, sort of, as Emma said, sort of, it's like those support garments that you can have, and your stoma nurses at the hospital will be able to sort of talk you through that, because I think, you'll probably acknowledge this as well, Sam. I think the exercise thing is something that's really missed off sort of when you're in hospital. There are leaflets. I think you tend to get given a leaflet, but because you've been through major surgery, I think it tends to be, the importance of it and the importance of doing those appropriate exercises. And that's the thing, is appropriate. Obviously that, you're not going to be told, right, you need to do 100 sit-ups sort of the day after your surgery, but it's about appropriate exercise. So we actually at CliniMed work with a specialist. She's actually a Pilates instructor, but that has put together some resources which is specific for people that have had a stoma sort of surgery, sort of stoma formation. So it's about that appropriate recovery plan which incorporates exercise, and then the support products that Emma mentioned, like your support garments, about which are almost sort of made to fit. So they will be, you need to sort of measure, and that's going to change as well. So you need to be able to sort of change that over your next sort of 4 to 6 weeks sort of that acute period. But I think exercise is really important, but it's appropriate exercise, as would normally be the case anyway with abdominal surgery. Anything where you've had surgery on your abdominal wall is going to increase that risk of a hernia. So, I mean, you know yourself, Sam, because you've been, that's happened to you. So it would be interesting to know from your point of view of how much emphasis was put on the exercise sort of portion of that when you were at a hospital, really.
I would say none.
No, yeah.
Sort of post-op, sort of when you're laying in bed, the deep breathing and pulling your tummy into the bed and things like that. But there was nothing past that.
No.
When I asked about it, they referred me to my own blog. I didn't think so that was quite good fun. But I think it's also about what was your exercise level before you had surgery. If you were super fit bodybuilder, and there's some fantastic ostomates who are bodybuilders who you can find online, then they have carried on doing the same sort of exercises, maybe adapting themselves slightly. But yeah, it's about where were you before and where are you after, I think. So our next question, and as someone who went to the gym for the first time this year, last night, I'm quite interested in, is how can I exercise with a stoma? Emma?
First of all, I don't want anybody to think that they couldn't exercise with a stoma. You need to do exactly what you did before having your stoma. So there's no reason why anything should change. In terms of exercising with your stoma, you just need to find that right pouch and accessory to help you be able to experience no problems and be confident that your stoma is going to, be okay and that you're not going to have any problems during your period of exercise. There are lots of different pouches out there. You might want to think about having a smaller pouch during that period of exercise and then changing it onto your normal pouch. So yeah, there's lots you can try, but the main thing is being confident while you're carrying out that form of exercise.
And I think another question people ask me a lot is, can I go swimming with my pouch on? And the answer is yes, isn't it?
It is, yeah, you can go swimming. So a lot of the pouches are pretty much waterproof. They're like, like a duck, water just beads off them. So you can go swimming, and again, you might want to try a smaller pouch while you're swimming and then go onto your normal pouch afterwards. You can do that easy enough, but there's no reason why you couldn't swim.
Absolutely not. And my favorite part of my gym is the spa, and yes, I do. I go in the sauna, I go in the jacuzzi. None of it affects my bag at all. Same with bathing and showering. It's just the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's good to know, because people might think the humidity might affect the adhesion. So it's really good, Sam, that you're saying that doesn't occur. I used to work in Queensland where it was high humidity, and patients didn't have a problem with the adherence of their pouch. So yeah, go into a sauna, go swimming, do whatever you like, it's absolutely fine. Just so long as you've got the confidence that that pouch is going to stay on and not cause any problems during that time, go and do it.
Okay, Sandy, is there anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, just to reinforce the messages, I think, you know, we all know, especially during lockdown, the messages about how important exercise is for our mental health. So, you know, it's even more important, I think, for somebody that's had stoma surgery. It's like yourself, Sam, where you've been an exerciser before, that you're going to have that sort of period of time where, you know, you're covering from acute trauma, but you really want to get back to doing as much as you can. So it's about finding a pouch that, as Em says, that's comfortable, that can sort of fit with your lifestyle. I mean, some of the people feedback that we've had before is that just something as simple as having a different colour pouch if you're wearing, you know, I know if I sort of work out, everything is quite dark, so you want a dark pouch. It can be something as simple as that, because people don't want to sort of say, oh, you know, I've got dark clothing on and my pouch is really sort of standing out. So just something really as simple as that. So reinforcing the messages, really. Comfort of the pouch for when you're moving around, which will be different from when you're doing your normal day-to-day things, and just sort of something that makes you feel, you know, not conscious, and that you can sort of just exercise, because that's going to really help you. So
definitely. And I mean, I'm not somebody who would wear very skimpy things anyway. So unless I tell people in the gym that I've got a stoma, no one else is going to know. Thank you all for watching and taking part today. Thank you very much to Emma, our Stoma Care Nurse, and Sandy, our product specialist. It's been great to just talk about these things. We all know how isolating and embarrassing it can feel sometimes to ask these questions. So events like this really do mean a lot to myself as an ostomate. As always, I would just suggest, if you're watching this and you still have questions, reach out for support. You can speak to your own Stoma Care Nurse or support groups. There's so much online now. You can check out Clinomed's social media on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and you can head over to the Clinomed website, which is www.clinomed.co.uk. There is also the Clinomed Care line, which is 0808 291 3744, and we will put this information on screen as well.
Yeah, so thanks very much. It's been a really, really great session today. So I just encourage you all that if you do need any samples of the Aura Plus product range that I talked about earlier, or access to the STAR service, that you reach out to the numbers and the contact points that Sam has mentioned earlier. And, you know, as I say, thanks again for coming today and attending. It's been really great to have you along. Thank you.
Thank you all for attending this session. It's been an honour to be able to share our knowledge with you and our experiences. Please, if you need any help, just reach out, call your local Stoma Care Nurse, call Secure Care, Clinomed. That's what we're here for. Thank you.
Thank you all for watching. We'll see you again soon.